Thank you very much for inviting me. My goal is to discuss the essential elements and best practices for writing high-impact review papers so that you can make significant contributions to your field of work. We will discuss the core purpose of writing these papers and their structural organization, discuss the best practices for the title, abstract, and introduction, look closely at the ethical use of artificial intelligence in writing, and address the important ingredients of success. We will also review the steps for reference management, using submission checklists, and selecting the optimal journal for your work. Most prominent journals, such as Nature, Science, Nature reviews materials, Progress in Materials Science, and Reviews of Modern Physics publish review papers because review papers help both the beginner researchers as well as the experienced professionals and influence the future direction of a field. Purpose of a review paper. First, these papers educate and inform, serving as a crucial gateway for beginner researchers of a field by offering foundational insights. Second, they keep experienced readers up to date by discussing the current state of understanding and emerging trends. Most importantly, a review paper must synthesize fragmented knowledge. It integrates scattered findings from individual studies to generate a cohesive understanding that was previously unavailable and identifies knowledge gaps that form the basis for future investigations. A good review paper does not repackage existing information. It creates value by generating new insights through synthesis. What makes a review paper high impact? In short, impactful reviews are about identifying gaps in knowledge and guiding future research. They achieve this by identifying clear gaps in understanding and suggesting strategic directions for where the field needs to move next. What is important is its ability to synthesize existing knowledge, integrate data across multiple studies, and clarify major trends, controversies, or fragmented concepts. Ultimately, a highly influential review creates significant value through this rigorous synthesis. Creation of a high-impact paper requires deep engagement with the material. It demands mastery of prior research combined with deep interpretation, synthesis, and critique. You must aim to deliver reusable insights that go far beyond simple reporting, making the process inherently more challenging than writing a standard technical paper. In a technical paper, the authors do not have the burden of synthesizing their results with generally available data or results to create reusable insights beyond the results and discussions. A review paper is particularly valuable when it establishes facts that cannot be found in individual technical papers. A strong review helps readers grasp the big picture and offers crucial insights for their own work. By compiling and analyzing data from many different publications, it is possible to reveal a clear trend. The chart shown here, from a Progress in Materials Science review, illustrates how synthesizing data points from multiple papers can establish a useful correlation, such as Vickers hardness versus carbon equivalent. This generalized, synthesized fact is what makes the review paper provide results that are not available in individual technical papers. The structure of a review paper often begins with the introduction, which must address crucial questions. Why is this review needed? How is it different from existing work? And why is it timely now? The body consists of thematic subtopics, which vary widely but often cover things like process features, structure, and properties in fields like materials science. Crucially, you must then define research needs, a roadmap identifying knowledge gaps. The paper concludes with an outlook, which is forward-looking, offering evidence-based projections, and promoting collaboration by connecting to other fields. A great example of effective structure is the Deep Learning review by LeCun, Benjo, and Hinton in Nature. This paper was organized thematically, covering supervised learning, backpropagation, and various networks like CNNs and RNNs. Note how they structured the final section around the future of deep learning, providing that critical, forward-looking projection. This paper wasn't just a summary. It was an authoritative manifesto by field pioneers. It demonstrates the power of rigorous structure, becoming one of the most widely read and cited papers in the field, with over 100,000 citations. While the overall structure varies, defining the scope is key, and a heat map is a powerful visual tool to help you identify research gaps. By charting research density, for example, materials versus experimental methods, you can visually locate hot spots, which are mature and competitive areas. More importantly, you identify the cold spots, under-researched areas with few publications. These cold spots represent significant gaps that your review needs to address. The heat diagram establishes the need, and the paper creates value by synthesizing knowledge to propose a solution. Identifying gaps with a heat diagram visually. While the overall structure varies, defining the scope is key, and a heat map is a powerful visual tool to help you identify research gaps. By charting research density, for example, materials versus experimental methods, you can visually locate hot spots, which are mature and competitive areas. More importantly, you identify the cold spots, under-researched areas with few or no publications. These cold spots represent significant gaps that your review needs to address. The heat diagram establishes the need, and the paper creates value by synthesizing knowledge to propose a solution. PRISMA method. PRISMA stands for Preferred Reporting Items for Reviews and Meta-Analyses. This is a systematic approach to make your review transparent, reproducible, and complete. Journals are increasingly adapting PRISMA method to ensure rigor and reproducibility in comprehensive reviews, especially in fields where data synthesis is complex. It includes a detailed checklist to ensure implementation of a comprehensive search strategy, inclusion and exclusion criteria, and methods for data extraction and bias assessment. PRISMA diagram. Why should you use PRISMA? Top journals are increasingly expecting reviews to follow these structured methods. Using PRISMA signals to reviewers that your work is not merely a narrative summary, but a rigorous review based on reproducible methods. The PRISMA diagram visually documents your process flow. For instance, you start with identified records, perhaps 300, screen them to remove duplicates, assess eligibility by reading full-text articles, and eventually narrow down to the studies included in your final synthesis. The power of a compelling title. Your title is critical because it determines whether a reader will engage with your paper or skip it. In fact, many more people read the title than the paper itself. A critical rule is to pack the title with strong keywords, making it easily searchable and friendly to abstracting services. You must avoid using symbols, abbreviations, or equations within the title. While journal standards vary, aim to keep your title concise, typically between 10 and 15 words, writing an effective abstract and introduction. The abstract is the second thing people see, so it must capture the paper's essence, the aim, method, key findings, and impact, in a nutshell. Remember, journals often impose strict word limits, usually between 100 to 200 words, and references or formulas are generally excluded. Following the abstract, your introduction must immediately attract attention by providing a compelling reason why this topic matters now. It is vital to establish novelty. Clearly differentiate your work by showing what is new and not available in other reviews. The final paragraph should outline your goals and the paper's structure. It's crucial to understand how the literature section differs between review and technical papers. In a review paper, the purpose is extensive. You are synthesizing, critiquing, and generating new insights. The scope must be broad and deep, involving an extensive critical evaluation. This section often constitutes the majority of the paper. In contrast, in a technical paper, the literature section is narrow and moderate in depth, serving only to justify the present work and provide context for the research objectives. The growing availability of generative AI tools offers valuable support for scientific writing, particularly for brainstorming, refining language, and creating conceptual diagrams. However, their use carries clear responsibilities. Upholding academic integrity is non-negotiable, and authors, not machines, retain full responsibility for the content, accuracy, and originality of the manuscript. When using AI tools, authors must implement explicit ethical safeguards. This includes appropriate attribution where required, transparent disclosure of AI-assisted tasks, and careful human oversight. AI may be used as a linguistic or organizational aid, but never as an authoritative source of facts. Every factual statement, numerical value, and reference generated or suggested by AI must be independently verified against primary, authoritative sources. Authors must never rely on citations they have not personally read. AI outputs may contain errors, omissions, or misrepresentations. Authors should also remain alert to biases embedded in AI training data, which may reflect historical, disciplinary, or societal inequities. Effort is needed to ensure accurate sourcing of the scientific literature. In visual communication, a clear distinction must be maintained between conceptual illustrations created for explanatory purposes and evidentiary figures that report empirical results. Conceptual visuals may be AI-assisted if clearly identified as such, whereas data-driven figures must be original, reproducible, and derived directly from validated experimental or computational results. The use of AI to generate or modify evidentiary figures is inappropriate when it risks misrepresenting data. At the core of responsible AI use in scientific writing is the preservation of the author's intellectual voice and analytical judgment. AI should function as a supportive tool to enhance clarity and efficiency, not as a substitute for critical thinking, domain expertise, or scholarly accountability. AI use in writing, best practices. In addition to fact-checking, you must address bias and image rules. AI tools inherit biases from their training data, so authors must actively mitigate this by ensuring a balanced and accurate perspective. Regarding figures, you must strictly adhere to image creation rules. Conceptual visualizations and explanatory diagrams are generally permitted. However, modifying experimental data or generating evidentiary photos is prohibited, as this crosses the line into data fabrication. Remember that the paper starts with your expertise, and the final manuscript must always reflect your unique creative voice. Efficient reference management is essential for a comprehensive review. Start by choosing a reference management tool like Zotero or EndNote to help organize and format your citations. As you collect sources, organize them effectively by tagging keywords and adding personal notes. Next, implement your citation strategy using the tool to insert citations consistently. A highly recommended step is to create a citation matrix, a spreadsheet showing how different included papers cite one another. Finally, generate the reference list and carefully review it for any errors. Before submission, create a good checklist and run through it carefully. Ensure your review provides value through synthesis and uses a critical engagement approach where you critique, compare, and connect different papers. Confirm the scope is well-defined, neither too broad nor too narrow. And you must address your novelty. How does this review differ from other recent publications? Finally, confirm that it goes beyond mere description, showing high analytical depth, and that it clearly highlights key gaps for future research. A formal pre-submission review process can be very beneficial. Engage subject matter experts to help identify any crucial missing papers or correct factual errors. Have experienced readers confirm your central message clarity and verify the organizational flow. This process is crucial for catching logical flaws and ensuring your scope is appropriate. The review also allows you to address potential critiques and improve the writing style before the journal sees it. This strategic insight can even include advice on journal selection. Choosing the right journal is a strategic step. You must shortlist journals based on key criteria, including whether they publish review papers, their core topic, the target audience, and their impact factor. Research practical factors like their publication model, whether they are niche or broad, and their typical review speed. Always check the aims and scope to ensure your paper is an ideal fit. A simple but effective method is to follow your existing references to see where similar influential papers are published. What if the manuscript is not accepted? Please read what J.K. Rowling said, shown here in red. It is impossible to live without failing at something. And remember that even strong papers are sometimes rejected. If a manuscript is not accepted, please do not forget that rejection is temporary, and it represents an opportunity to improve the paper and publish an even better review paper. Temporary failure teaches us things we couldn't learn any other way. To handle rejection effectively, you must understand the criticisms and suggestions from the reviewers. Use that feedback to thoroughly revise the manuscript, select a new appropriate journal, and then resubmit. Thank you very much for your interest. Writing an impactful review paper gives you a critical opportunity to contribute significantly to your field. You do this by identifying important gaps and providing clear roadmaps for the community. Focus on creating value through meticulous synthesis and ensuring your writing is marked by clarity and rigor. By combining these efforts with strategically choosing the right journal, you maximize your paper's influence. I hope that you will leave your important comments below, which will enable me to improve this presentation.